Have you ever wondered how to create your own custom stickers using Cricut and Procreate? Hi, I'm Lauren from Envato Tuts Plus, and in this video course, I'll be showing you how to design bullet journal stickers using Procreate, how to make your stickers Cricut-ready, and how to set up and print individual stickers using your Cricut machine. In this video, I'll be using resources from Envato Elements, a huge library of downloadable files which include Procreate and Photoshop brushes, fonts, and textures designed to meet all of your creative needs. There is no lock-in contract and you can cancel at any time. To recreate this tutorial, you will need an iPad with Procreate installed and an Apple Pencil, a colour printer, sticker paper, and a Cricut machine. The two most common types of printer are inkjet and laser printers. Inkjet printers use ink to print images onto the paper, and laser printers use a laser made of static electricity. Inkjet printers tend to be more expensive but can produce higher quality colour images. They can also print on a larger variety of papers, whereas laser printers can't be used on any material that's sensitive to heat. Although both can work for the purpose of this tutorial, an inkjet printer might be a better long-term investment for these reasons. In this tutorial, I'll be using a HP inkjet printer. The two most commonly used types of Cricut machine for sticker making purposes are the Cricut Maker and the Cricut Explore Air. In this video, I'm using the Cricut Maker, which is pictured on the screen. The Maker is at a higher price point than the Air and has a few different advantages, but for this particular tutorial, both will work equally well. If you are looking at using your Cricut for a wider range of uses, the Maker might be a worthwhile investment since it is compatible with the complete range of Cricut tools. It's faster, more powerful, and can print on both white and coloured materials. The Air can cut up to the same dimensions, but will be slower to complete cuts, and it is also compatible with less materials than the Maker. It can only cut on white materials, which can also limit its use. But if you are planning on creating simple items like stickers and prints, then it makes a great affordable option. There are a variety of types of sticker paper that you can purchase. In this video, I'm going to be using this matte white vinyl sold by Evergreen Goods. This kind of paper is waterproof, which makes it ideal for creating multi-purpose stickers that can be used on items prone to getting wet, such as water bottles. You can use any brand or type of paper that you like so long as it's compatible with the Cricut, is the correct size for your printer, and has a removable sticky back. The most common finishes for sticker paper are glossy and matte. Matte paper has a rougher texture and has no shine to it. Sometimes colour can appear more intense on matte paper than on glossy. Glossy paper has smooth texture and reflects the light, which gives it that shiny finish. Glossy stickers can be more hard-wearing and long-lasting than matte. Although there are a few small pros and cons to both, it's mostly just down to personal preference on the finish you prefer. I'm going to use stamp brushes to create my sticker designs. A stamp brush is a pre-made design that can be stamped on the page with one single tap. They're a great way to save time or create complex designs in a matter of seconds. My stamp brushes have been downloaded from Envato Elements, so I'm going to talk you through the process of importing from Elements into Procreate. I'm going to start by filtering the search into the add-ons category and typing stamp brush into the search bar at the top. I then press enter, and I can now look through all of the brush packs and find one that suits my project. I then tap on that and press the red download button in the top right corner and then the add and download button in the centre. I then tap on the zip file within my downloads folder, and you can now find the brush set and tap on it, which will import it directly into Procreate. The brush set is now ready to use. You should find it at the top of your brush library. You can see how quick and easy it is to create these shapes with just a single tap. You can also change the size of the stamps by dragging the top slider to the left of the screen. I'm also going to be creating some text stickers. To add text on Procreate, tap the Actions menu and select Add Text. You can now type directly onto the canvas and resize the text easily using the arrow tool. I'm going to be using fonts downloaded from Elements. To download new fonts, select the Fonts section of the Elements homepage where you can look through the whole library. Once you've found a font, tap on it and hit the red download button, and then hit Add and Download to add it to your files. The zip can now be opened from your downloads. To install the font, open up the text menu by pressing Add Text and clicking the AA button on the bottom menu bar. Then tap Import Font on the top right corner to open your files, and simply find the font file you want to add and tap on it. You should now be able to find your new font in the text menu where it'll be ready for you to use and enjoy. The existing Procreate font range is quite limited, so this is a great way to level up your designs. Now it's time to start designing the stickers. I'm going to begin by creating a new A4 size canvas since I'm going to be printing in A4 size. I'm going to be designing stickers for an autumn themed bullet journal page, so I've downloaded a variety of autumn bullet journal themed stamps from Vato Elements, which are linked in the description of this video. I'm going to start with an autumnal looking mushroom stamp brush. I downsized the brush and I'm using this reddish brown colour. I'm going to be using reds, browns, oranges and yellows because these are the colours that remind me of autumn. I decided to make a little trio of mushrooms for this first sticker, which will be a nice little decorative element on the page. I use the arrow tool to resize it and move it to the corner of the page so that I've got plenty of space for the rest of the stickers. I decided to make one more mushroom sticker, this time using a more orange toned shade. You can use the colour picker in the top right corner and drag it to your shape to edit the shade. I decided that I wanted to make this sticker a little more interesting by adding another stamp. I found this small leaf shape and I decided to colour it brown. I then downsized the sticker and added it next to my mushroom shape. I wanted to balance out the shape by adding another stamp to the right side of the mushroom. I tried out the leaf again first, but I wasn't sure about this, so instead I found another mushroom stamp, which I think added a bit more interest. I set the colour to a reddish shade and then I added this to the right of the mushroom. That makes my second sticker complete. I'm arranging this next to the first sticker, but not too close so that there's plenty of room between them for the next stage. For my third sticker, I decided to add some washi tape. I selected the tape stamp from this brush pack, which is designed especially for bullet journaling. There are lots of different sizes and shapes of tape in this pack, as well as some with patterns. I decided to go for a plain one because I wanted to add my own pattern to the tape. I used the size bar on the left of the screen to resize the tape until I was happy with the dimensions of it. I then created a new layer and set it to a clipping mask. This means you can only draw within the shape. I wanted to add a pattern to the tape, so I searched for some autumnal pattern brushes. Some brushes will download from Elements as individual brushes. You can find these in the imported folder at the bottom of your brush library. I chose this pretty acorn pattern and set the colour to a lighter contrasting yellow shade so that it would stand out against the brown. I then coloured it over my layer. Once I was happy with this, I then merged the clipping mask into the layer below, which turns the layers into one solid shape. The sticker is now complete, so I can move it in line with the other stickers, still leaving some space in between. For my third sticker, I decided to create some more washi tape, but this time I chose a longer and thinner tape style. This is a really great way to make your own custom pieces of washi tape without having to invest in an entire roll. Once again, I made a new layer above the tape layer and created a clipping mask. I went back to the patterns folder and chose this fun autumnal leaf pattern. I changed the colour to a dark brown to contrast strongly against the yellow background, and then I coloured this directly over the tape. Once this was done, my design was complete. I once again merged the layers together and then resized it before moving it below the rest of my stickers. For my fourth sticker, I decided to add some text. I brought up the text menu and then looked through my fonts to find something that I thought would match the rest of the stickers. I chose this font called Beach Sunshine, which is a script style font that I thought would go really nicely with the illustrations. I tapped on the keyboard and then added the text Hello Autumn, as I thought this would make a really nice header for the page. I wanted to decrease the space between the two words, so I tapped on the text and pressed Select All to bring up the editing menu. The leading slider controls the space between lines, so I decreased this to bring the words closer together. I then downsized this using the arrow tool, but I thought it looked a little bit plain and I wanted to add something in the background. I decided to look through this Planner Grids brush set for a shape that would work nicely below the text. In the end, I decided on this arrow-shaped stamp, which I thought would work really nicely at the top of a page. I've resized the stamp and played around with a few different sizes before I found one that fitted nicely with the size of the text. I like this brown shade for the background colour, so I decided to edit the colour of the text by tapping on the text layer and pressing Edit Text. I then pressed Select All and adjusted the colour to this light cream shade that really stands out against the brown. I moved this into the centre of the label and my sticker is now complete. Once again, I merged these layers together to make it easier to move around and placed it in line with my other stickers. For my next designs, I decided that I wanted to create 2 small text-based stickers that could serve as headers for lists. I looked through the stickers and labels brush pack and found these small rectangular shapes that I thought would be perfect for adding text to. I selected the shape and then tapped the page to add one. I created a new layer above this shape and then I selected some of the pre-made text from the brush pack and darkened the colour so that it would stand out more. I downsized the text and then tapped into the centre of the shape to add it. I decided the shape was a little too large, so I resized it smaller, centering it with the text. I then duplicated the shape and dragged it in line to make my second list header sticker. Once again, I used the pre-made text from this brush pack and tapped into the centre of the label. I used the arrow tool to make sure that it's all perfectly in line. For my next stickers, I decided that I wanted to create some little tick shapes so that I could use them as a fun way for ticking off my lists. I found a tick shape in the Stickers and Labels brush set and tapped it to place it on the screen. I used the slider to resize the ticks until I was happy with the size, and then I created 4 of them in a row. I made sure that these are quite well spaced out because they're going to have some white space around them later on. Because I'm going to be making this bullet spread for the month of October, I decided to make some Halloween themed stickers. I found this bat shape in the Hallow Stamp brush set and I set it to a dark brown shade. These brushes change angle based on the direction of your Apple Pencil, so I used the selection tool to draw around the shape so that I could straighten it out using the arrow tool. I decided to add a smaller bat next to the first bat, and again I straightened this using the selection and arrow tools. For my next sticker, I went back to that brush set and chose the pumpkin shape, and of course I had to set it to an orange colour. I straightened up the shape, and then I decided to add another smaller pumpkin in a slightly darker orange shade to the right of it, once again straightening this up. I then moved both of these stickers in line with the rest of my stickers so that I'm leaving plenty of room for the stickers below. For my next stickers, I decided I wanted to create some lists and grids that I could use to add writing within. I looked through the Planner Grids brush set and found this grid that had lines, which I thought would be perfect for making lists or adding in notes. I resized the stamp brush to a size that I thought would work well with handwriting, taking into consideration that the page size is A4, which will help me to figure out what size this should be. I then moved this in line with the rest of my stickers and started looking for my second grid. I decided to find one that contained empty boxes so that it could be used for a variety of different uses. I resized it using the slider on the left and then placed it next to my other grid. For my final few stickers, I decided I wanted something a little bit more decorative, so I found these hand-drawn flower and leaf shapes. I resized the brush and placed these at the bottom of the page. These are a great example of how time-saving stamps can be, because in reality, these intricate designs could have taken a very long time to draw. I made the next shape a slightly darker shade so that there could be a contrast throughout the page between all of the stickers. I used the arrow tool to make sure they were in line. If you have snapping switched on to the left of that menu, some helpful guides will pop up to assist you with this. I realised I didn't have any super autumnal looking leaves, so I chose my next 2 stamps from this autumn leaf brush set. I set this one to an orange colour and sized it to roughly the same dimensions as the previous 2 designs. I then changed the colour slightly for my last sticker and used the classic autumn leaf brush shape. Once I downsized that sticker to match with the rest of my shapes, my sticker sheet is complete. The next step is to create white outlines for our stickers to make them easier to peel. You're going to want to remove the background layer by scrolling to the bottom of the Layers panel and ticking off the checkbox. On a layer behind all of the rest of the layers, you want to set your brush colour to white and go into the calligraphy section of the brush panel and click on the monoline brush. This is a smooth-edged brush, which is perfect for outlining the stickers. Tap on the brush within the brush library to head to the brush studio and make sure the streamline is turned up to max. This will help you to draw smooth lines. I set the brush size to 3% and then I started to draw an outline around the edge of the mushrooms. You can make this line as thick or thin as you like, but remember that the Cricut is going to cut around the edges of this, so keep this in mind when you're drawing it. When I'm doing this, I like to follow the rough shape of the design that I'm outlining. As well as making the edges of the stickers easier to peel, this also ensures that the Cricut will cut around just the edges of your design and won't cut out any of the middle shapes. As you can see, the centre of these mushroom shapes were originally empty, which means that those circles would have been cut out by the Cricut machine. I try and make sure that the edge is as even sized as I possibly can get it the whole way around the sticker. This outline won't stand out very much if you're placing the sticker on a white page, but do bear in mind if you're placing it against a coloured page, you will be able to see any discrepancies in the size of the outline. Once I'm happy with the outline on that sticker, I then make a new layer behind the next sticker and start to draw one behind that too. If I was going to fill in the centre of this shape so that those pieces weren't cut out but not add an outline, then the pieces would be very small and fiddly and they might rip when I'm taking them off the sticker sheet. Those little circles at the bottom of the leaves would also be impossible to pick up. You'll see later that not everything needs an outline like this, but if you are creating something with very intricate designs and small pieces, it will help you greatly if you do add them. Of course, your outline doesn't even need to be white. If you want to do something funky like a coloured or patterned outline, as long as there is a smooth line around the shape, the Cricut will cut it out and it will be easy to peel. Because the washi tape and the labels have got straight lines, the Cricut will cut exactly outside of those, and I don't need to add any colouring in the middle because there are no gaps, so the next thing that needs to have an outline are these tick stickers. Originally I was going to add circles, but then I decided just to follow the shape of the tick like this. This strengthens the design and makes it easier to peel and less likely to break. I then added a new layer behind the bat shapes and started adding an outline to those, as they are very detailed and will definitely need some help coming off the page. With designs like this, when there are two separate shapes, you could outline them separately, but I decided that I wanted to keep them together, so I joined the shapes using the white outline. Because this design has a lot of small parts coming off of it, I decided to simplify it quite a lot while still roughly following the original shape. For the pumpkins, I went for a similar method, first making a new layer behind them and then starting to outline them before joining them together, making sure that I colour in the centre since there are gaps. Although I decided to join them together, the smaller pumpkin might just have been big enough to be a sticker on its own, but you do want to be careful with this because it might be very hard to peel the back off a really tiny sticker. I next needed to fill in my list boxes. Although these have got a straight outline, so won't need to have a white line around the edges, the centre is empty, and if I left it like this, it would be cut out and all I would have are the outlines. So I'm going to colour this in using the same brush. The Cricut can detect even the smallest of gaps, so you want to make sure that you really don't leave any empty space, otherwise you might find you have tiny little cuts in the centre of your stickers. The next box had very thin outlines which I decided were too difficult to colour in, so instead I used the colour dropper to drag inside the shape to fill in the boxes that way instead. The edges aren't always perfect when you do this, so you might need to zoom in and make sure that there really are no gaps. I then moved on to the leaf and flower outlines at the bottom of the page. These have gaps inside the design, so would definitely need to be coloured in, and some of the outlines are quite complex, so if I wasn't to add an outline to these, they might break when I was taking them off the page. With larger designs like this, it's really easy to outline them to make sure that your white outline perfectly follows the path. Adding outlines in designs like this will also strengthen them. For example, the stalk at the bottom might snap off very easily if it didn't have the extra space around it. For the next sticker, I once again create a layer behind it. There's a lot going on with this design and it has a lot of thin leaves that reach outwards. If I wasn't to strengthen this, it's very likely that it would break. I try to add a bit of extra space to the stalk of this design because I want to make sure that it's as strong as possible. Because I'm using matte sticker paper, I do need to be extra careful that my stickers aren't likely to break. It is less strong than glossy paper, so you really want to make sure if you are using it that your stickers are reinforced with extra space. These next leaf shapes once again have completely clear centres, so I'm going to need to fill in the centre as well as drawing the outline. These ones would have been easy to colour in, but I decided that I really liked that skeletal look because I think that fits really well with autumn leaves. With shapes like this, if you were to remove the stalk, it might not actually be necessary to add an outline because the shape is large and simple enough that the Cricut could just cut around the edge and it would still be peelable. I decided that I wanted to add one still for consistency, but it's something to bear in mind. The stickers are now all outlined and Cricut ready. Before we move on to the next stage, you're going to want to make sure that all of your white shapes are completely filled so that there'll be no random cuts in the centre of your stickers. You also want to make sure that all of your stickers are well spaced throughout the page and none of them are too close together or too close to the edge. To export the stickers ready for sending to the Cricut, go onto the Actions menu and press Share and click on the PNG option. This ensures that the page will be saved with a clear background. A clear background is important because otherwise your white outlines will not show up. The main design considerations to have when creating your sticker sheet is to make sure that the paper size will fit your printer and the Cricut mat, that the stickers are spaced out well throughout the page, and that the outlines are kept simple for easy sticker cutting and easy sticker peeling. Make sure that none of your stickers are too small that they would be impossible to peel or have too many thin parts hanging off them that would easily rip off when you're taking them off the sheet. We're now ready to move on to the cutting and printing section of this tutorial. First, you need to download the Cricut Design Space app and open up the homepage. Then tap the green New Project button to open up this blank canvas. Select Upload in the bottom left corner and hit Upload a photo, find your PNG and click on it to import it. You will now be taken to this cleanup screen where you can look for any gaps in the design and edit them if necessary. This is why it's best to fill these in during the Procreate stage because it will save you a lot of time with re-uploading this and trying again. Once you're happy with this, tap Next and you'll be taken to this Refine screen. Here you can get a black outline that shows you exactly what shapes will be cut out, and you can also see if there are any white gaps anywhere on the shapes, so zoom into these to make sure. The shapes shown on the screen are exactly what the Cricut will be cutting out. When you're happy with this, tap Next and then you'll be taken to this screen. You'll have two choices, Cut and Print then Cut. We're going to be using the Print then Cut option for this tutorial, which will send your design to the printer first. If you choose just the Cut option, then the Cricut will simply cut out those outlines and you won't have the option to print your designs first. If you simply wish to cut out the outline of a shape, then the Cut option would be great for you, but if you want to cut out a pre-existing printed design, then you should always choose Print then Cut. This will make sure that the printer and the Cricut are calibrated together. You can then press Save and your design is ready to upload to the mat. Tap Upload in the bottom left corner and then find your design in the library, tap on it and it'll import it onto the mat. I then move my design to the left of the canvas because that's where I'm going to place it when I'm cutting it out on the mat, and then I tapped Make It when I was happy with the placement. Upon tapping this, there is an error with the size, as you can see with that little exclamation point in the yellow triangle. If you tap on that, you can find out what the problem was. Because the Cricut software is American, it uses US letter paper sizes. My printer prints at A4, which is why I set the page to A4, but I will have to decrease the size if I want to make it compatible with the Cricut. I would recommend setting the size of your document to the size that your printer prints at rather than the size that the Cricut would like you to use, because it shouldn't affect it in any way. All you have to do is downsize it within the dimensions that the Cricut recommends, and it should print exactly the same. Once the warning signs have disappeared and you're happy with the sizing and placement, you can press the Make It button in the top right corner. This will take you to a preview of your designs on the mat. On the left side of the screen, there is a slider to turn the bleed on for print then cut. I recommend having this on because it just gives you a little bit of extra leeway if your cut line is slightly off. You can then press the print button in the bottom right of the screen and make sure your printer is connected. Check that the colour and size are correct and then change the media to a glossy paper type. You might have more options than this on your screen. If so, just choose the one that matches the paper you're using closest and change the quality to best. Once you're happy with these settings, you can press the print button in the top right corner. Your design should now be sent to the printer and should start printing out. Try and load your paper as straightly as possible in the tray to make sure that the design prints in the correct position. Once your design is printed, we are now ready for cutting. I'm going to open up my Cricut machine and switch it on. I'm then going to take the blue coloured mat and place it inside the machine, ready for placing the paper onto. Before we begin cutting our designs, we want to make sure that the machine is calibrated. Calibrating the machine will make sure that the cutting tool will line up with the outlines that you've set. Select Print Then Cut Calibration from the menu on the left, and then select the print button at the bottom right to print the calibration sheet. I recommend printing extra copies because you will almost always need them. Once you've printed your sheet, you can then place it onto the cutting mat, lining it up with the edges of the white grid. It doesn't need to be completely perfect because the Cricut will scan this, but make sure it's as straight as you can possibly get it and smooth it down so that there are no air bubbles. Once your sheet is lined up, you can head back to the app and press the Go button in the bottom right corner. The app will then connect to your machine, and once that's done, you can hit the Load button to move the mat into the machine. Once the mat is loaded, the Go button in the centre should start flashing, which you can press to begin the calibration process. The first thing that the machine will do is scan the outlines. This ensures that it knows exactly where the sheet is on the mat, so that it knows where to cut. It can take a minute or so before the machine has scanned the entire page. Once the page is finished scanning, the machine will cut out the square in the centre of the page. Once the cut is complete, you want to have a closer look at it and see if the cut line touches the black outline all the way around. Head back to the app and answer the question. For me, this time it was a no, so I selected no and then pressed next. The Cricut will then begin to cut the next set of calibration lines. These horizontal and vertical lines will match up with letters and numbers written along the edges of the paper. Once this cut is finished, the goal is to look for the cut line that hits the centre of a black line the closest, and then take a note of the corresponding letter or number. You can then head back to the design space and select your result for the top and right lines. If you answered yes for the question after the first black box was cut, your Cricut will then perform another test cut. If you selected no, it will print another sheet for you to begin the process again. You usually have to repeat this multiple times. Once you're happy with this final test cut, your machine is calibrated. You'll now be ready to cut your sticker sheet. Head back to the project and press Make It again so that you end up with this mat. We've already printed it, so we can skip to the materials step. Here you'll find a long list of materials. I'm going to select photo paper. This is because this setting cuts all the way through the page, whereas some of the sticker paper settings will only cut the top layer of paper. The machine is now ready to cut. You can attach your paper to the mat and load it into the machine. Once loaded, the Make button should start flashing. Press this to begin the cut. As with the calibration sheet, the Cricut will first want to scan your image. This scan helps the Cricut to map out where all of the shapes are so that it can make sure it makes an accurate cut. Once this is complete, your Cricut should begin to cut out your designs. The length of this process will depend on how complex your outlines are, but usually it takes about a minute or less. Once the cut is finished, the Load button will start flashing. You can press this to release your mat from the machine. Before removing individual stickers, I like to remove the excess paper to make it easier to see where the outlines are. I like to use a craft knife to help remove the stickers from the mat, but any sharp tool should help you with this. You want to try and be as careful as you can during this process, especially with smaller stickers or stickers that have thin parts to them, because they can easily rip. You also want to make sure that you get right underneath the stickers with the tool, making sure you don't just peel away the top layer and leave the backing still stuck to the mat. And here is what my stickers look like once I'd removed them all from the mat. Now that my stickers are finished, I'm going to show you how I would use these particular stickers within a bullet journal to give you some ideas and inspiration for your own. You should be able to peel the stickers with just your fingers, but I personally find it a lot easier if I use the craft knife again to take away the backing from the top. I designed this Hello Autumn sticker to be a page header, so I'm placing this in the top left corner of the page. If calligraphy is not your strong point, text-based stickers like this are a really easy way to add some fancy lettering to your page. I tend to like to place some of the larger stickers first because I think this helps me to figure out how much space is left to add the more decorative stickers. Next, I'm going to be placing this lined notebook style sticker. This one is really great for adding some lined paper to a bullet journal. I find that one of the biggest pros for using individual stickers for journaling versus a full sticker sheet is that you can test the placement of the stickers before you peel off the back. This makes it really easy to plan and space out your designs before committing to anything. After I placed this down on the page, I thought it looked a little bit plain, so I wanted to add some decoration. The washi tape stickers that I created are absolutely perfect for this. And again, because the backs aren't sticky yet, I can test out which one I like best. I decided to place the washi tape along the top of the note page. Next, I decided to add the list header stickers because there needs to be quite a lot of space beneath these for me to write in. To make sure that I left enough space and that I was happy with the position, I placed them down first without peeling the back off so that I could see how they would look on the finished page. Once I was happy with this positioning, I could then take them away to peel off the back and then place them where I'd originally planned. When placing stickers of this small size, I really do recommend getting some kind of sharp tool such as a craft knife to help you peel off the back. This will help you avoid accidentally folding the edges or ripping the stickers. Next, I placed my final sticker that needs a lot of space. The left page was looking pretty full, so I decided to put it on the opposite side. As this was looking pretty plain like the other grid, I decided to use my second piece of washi tape to stick to the top of it. I really like how much more interesting this makes the grid look. I then wanted to show you an example of how I would use the tick stickers, so I started filling in an imaginary list under the to-do header. The pen I'm using is an Artline Sticks brush pen, which I really like for bullet journal lettering. Once you've completed the things on your list, you could then use the tick stickers to check them off. Because they're so tiny, you're definitely going to want to use some kind of tool to help you peel off the backing for these. I then decided to add a bit more lettering to my design, so I added October at the top of the page. I decided the right-hand page would be for Halloween planning, so I wrote this little Halloween header text. And I split the words so that I could add these cute pumpkin stickers in between. Of course, my Halloween-themed side of the page would not be complete unless I added this bat sticker. I also wanted to fill in that gap at the top of the left side of the page, so I added this little mushroom sticker up there. Now it was time to add some finer little bits of decoration to the blank parts of the pages. Because I want to leave plenty of space for writing, I'm trying to mainly place these in the corners of the page. I had one more sticker left to place, so I decided to write another handwritten header to put next to it. And here we have the finished bullet journal layout. I really love how it turned out, and I think these stickers have given me the perfect template with plenty of space ready to fill in whatever I need to plan during the month. I especially love having these handy text box stickers that will help me to organise my thoughts. And with that, our course is complete. Now let's recap everything that we've learned. How to create stickers on Procreate. How to set up a Cricut for print then cut. And finally, how to cut stickers on a Cricut. Don't forget to check out the Envato Elements library for a huge selection of resources, including beautiful Procreate brushes like the ones we used in this video, a wide range of creative fonts to suit all of your design needs, and a library of textures, images, and more. Subscribe now with the link in our bio. Thank you so much for following along on this tutorial with me. I really hope you enjoyed the course and enjoy creating your stickers. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos just like this one.